Have you ever noticed how some people seem to attract money effortlessly, while others struggle no matter how hard they work? Florence Scovel Shinn, an artist, teacher, and spiritual pioneer from the early 1900s, had a simple but powerful answer. Your mind creates your money. She believed that wealth doesn't begin in your wallet, it begins in your thoughts. Let that sink in. Every financial success or struggle you've ever had first started as an invisible belief inside you. Florence taught that your subconscious mind is like soil. Whatever seed you plant, faith or fear, grows. If you constantly say, money is hard to come by, your mind agrees. If you say, money flows to me freely, your mind agrees too. The soil doesn't judge the seed. It just grows whatever you plant. So the real question is, what are you planting? She told a story about a woman who desperately needed rent money. Instead of panicking, Florence advised her to act as if the money was already coming. She told her, speak the word. Declare it. Believe that the universe is your supplier. And guess what? Before the rent was due, the woman received an unexpected payment from a client she'd forgotten about. Coincidence? Florence didn't think so. She called it divine order. Now, maybe that sounds mystical, but think about it. When you shift your mindset from I'm broke to I'm blessed, your actions change. You start noticing opportunities you once ignored. You walk taller. You speak with confidence. You radiate the energy of someone who expects good things to happen. And that expectation becomes magnetic. People feel it. Money feels it. The universe feels it. Florence used to say, you must train your imagination to see abundance, not lack. If your inner movie is filled with debt, struggle, and scarcity, you're rehearsing your failure before it happens. But if your inner movie is filled with gratitude, confidence, and ease, you're rehearsing your wealth. So let me ask you, what movie is playing in your mind right now? She also taught the law of non-resistance. When you hold on too tight, to money, to fear, to how things should be, you block the flow. It's like trying to hold water in a closed fist. You end up losing it. But when you open your hand, when you trust, release, and stay grateful, the flow returns. That's when unexpected blessings appear. A job offer. A refund. An opportunity you didn't see coming. Florence called this the game of life. And in this game, your faith is your greatest currency. She believed that words are wands, magical tools that shape reality. So she warned against careless speech. When you say, I can't afford that, you command your subconscious to make it true. When you say, money comes to me easily, you're programming your mind for prosperity. Simple words. Powerful results. But let's be honest, it's not easy. We've been taught to fear money, chase money, or feel guilty about having it. Florence wanted to change that. She wanted people to see money not as a master, but as a servant. A tool for freedom, for creativity, for helping others. Here are some key points related to this. Money starts in the mind. Your financial reality mirrors your beliefs and self-image. Words are powerful. What you repeatedly say shapes your financial experience. Act in faith, not fear. Believing before seeing invites opportunities and miracles. Let go and trust. Releasing resistance allows abundance to flow naturally. Visualize abundance. Train your imagination to see success, not scarcity. Be grateful for what you have. Gratitude multiplies blessings and opens new doors. Imagine waking up every morning and feeling like the world is against you. The bills pile up, the job feels draining, and no matter how hard you try, money just seems to slip through your fingers. You begin to think, maybe I'm just unlucky, or people like me never get rich. Those thoughts seem harmless, right? But Florence Scovel Shinn would tell you that those very words are the blueprint of your financial life. She believed that your outer world is a mirror of your inner thoughts. that money, success, and opportunity all begin not in your wallet, but in your mind. Think of your mind as a projector. Whatever film you load, fear, doubt, or abundance, it projects into the world around you. Florence once said, "The game of life is a game of boomerangs." Our thoughts, deeds, and words return to us sooner or later, with astounding accuracy. Imagine that. Every time you think, "I'll never have enough," you're throwing out a boomerang of lack. And sooner or later, it comes flying back, not as a thought, but as your lived reality. She told a story about a man who constantly said, "I never have any money left by the end of the month." It became his truth. Even when he received a raise, he found new ways to spend, lose, or mismanage it. The universe was simply echoing what his mind already believed. But the moment he began saying, "Money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways," and truly believed it, small miracles began to unfold: a forgotten refund check, a side project that turned into steady income, and a sense of peace that money had never given him before. The outer world shifted only after his inner world did. Picture a garden. The soil doesn't argue with you. It doesn't say, "I'll only grow flowers, not weeds." It grows whatever you plant. Your mind works the same way. If you plant fear, "I can't afford this, I'm always behind, money is the root of evil," you'll harvest struggle and scarcity. But if you plant faith, "I'm open to abundance, there's more than enough for everyone, money flows to me freely and easily," you'll begin to see opportunities bloom where there used to be nothing but dry ground. Florence wasn't asking people to ignore their struggles. She was asking them to stop worshipping them. She knew that the more energy you give your problems, the more you strengthen them. She wanted people to redirect that energy toward possibility. Because the truth is, most people don't have a money problem, they have a belief problem. They've been told that wealth requires suffering, that success is for other people, or that wanting more is selfish. Florence turned that idea upside down. She said, "There is no lack of anything on God's side. The supply is infinite if you only believe." So imagine, just for a moment, if you could replace every thought of lack with one of trust. If instead of saying, "I can't," you whispered, "Something better is on its way." Imagine the peace, the shift, the quiet confidence that begins to grow. That's where true wealth starts, not in what you hold, but in what you believe. Have you ever noticed how quickly your words can shape your day? You wake up, spill your coffee, and mutter, "Just my luck." From that moment on, everything seems to go wrong: the traffic, the deadlines, the mood. It's as if your words flipped a switch in the universe that said, "Bring more of that." Florence Scovel Shinn understood this power long before most people did. She believed words were not just sounds, they were commands to the subconscious mind, and the subconscious never argues. It simply obeys. When you say, "I can't afford that," or "I'll never make enough," your mind takes it as an order and begins to shape your reality accordingly. Florence used to say, "Your word is your wand." It's such a simple phrase, yet it carries the weight of creation itself. Imagine holding an invisible wand in your hand. Every time you speak, you're casting a spell. The words you choose either build your future or break it down. She told a story about a woman who constantly said, "Everything I touch turns to failure." And of course, it did. Jobs fell through, relationships collapsed, money slipped away. Florence challenged her to reverse it, to instead affirm, "Everything I touch prospers and succeeds." The woman laughed at first, thinking it was silly. But within weeks, things began to change. A business idea that once failed began to attract interest, and she found herself in the right place at the right time more than once. Nothing magical happened outside of her, the magic was in her words. It's easy to underestimate how much language defines us. Most people speak without thinking, repeating phrases passed down from parents, culture, and fear. Money doesn't grow on trees. Life's a struggle. I'm barely surviving. These phrases seem harmless, but they program the subconscious to expect exactly that: limitation, hardship, and lack. Florence often said that people curse their own prosperity without realizing it. She would remind them that every word is a seed. And if you plant seeds of doubt, you cannot harvest abundance. Think of a musician tuning their instrument before a concert. If even one string is off, the entire song sounds wrong. Words work the same way. They tune your mind to a certain frequency, one of scarcity or one of wealth. When you speak words of fear, you go out of tune with the energy of abundance. But when you speak words of faith, gratitude, and power, your life begins to play in harmony with prosperity. It's not about pretending everything is perfect, it's about refusing to use language that reinforces what you don't want. Florence believed that the universe is literal, it listens carefully to what you declare. So when you say, "I'm broke," the universe doesn't argue, it simply agrees. But when you say, "Money comes to me easily and often," something subtle shifts inside you. Your energy changes. Your awareness expands. You start noticing possibilities instead of problems. The cashier smiles at you. A forgotten payment clears. An opportunity appears out of nowhere. It's as if your words rearrange the pieces of reality to match the new story you're telling. So the next time you speak about money, success, or yourself, pause for a moment. Listen to your own voice. Is it the voice of faith or the voice of fear? Because every word you speak is a brushstroke painting the picture of your future, and that picture always begins with the words you dare to say. There comes a moment in every person's life when faith and fear collide. It's that silent crossroads where you either panic or trust, complain or believe, shrink or rise. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that this moment, this invisible turning point, determines what comes next. She said, "Faith knows it has already received and acts accordingly." To act in faith means to behave as if what you desire is already yours, even when your physical eyes see the opposite. It's not pretending, it's aligning with a higher truth, that the invisible always precedes the visible. She told the story of a woman who had lost everything: her job, her savings, her sense of hope. The woman came to Florence and said, "I have no money left, no opportunities, and no idea what to do." Florence smiled gently and replied, "Then act as though God has already made a way for you. Dress well. Walk with confidence. Expect your good." The woman hesitated, feeling silly, but she decided to try. Every morning, she put on her nicest clothes, held her head high, and walked the city streets as if she already had the job she wanted. Within a week, she met an old friend who mentioned an opening at his company. 2 weeks later, she was employed again, not because she begged or chased, but because she acted in faith when fear told her not to. That is the quiet power Florence spoke of. When you act in faith, you send a signal, not just to the universe, but to your own mind, that you are ready to receive. The energy of fear closes doors, the energy of faith opens them. Think of a radio. When you tune into a station filled with static, all you hear is noise. But when you find the right frequency, the music plays clearly. Faith is that frequency. Fear distorts the signal. When you believe before seeing, you're tuning into the music of abundance. Most people live their lives the other way around. They say, "I'll believe it when I see it." But Florence turned that upside down. She said, "You'll see it when you believe it." Because faith isn't about waiting for proof, it's about becoming the proof. Imagine a farmer planting seeds and then standing over the soil, demanding to see sprouts in an hour. He'd look foolish. But that's what many of us do when we pray for prosperity and then immediately worry about the outcome. Acting in faith means trusting the process. It means knowing that just because you can't see the roots growing doesn't mean they're not there. She encouraged people to take inspired action, not desperate action. To trust that doors would open at the right time. She once said, "Fear causes withdrawal, faith causes advance." When you move in faith, you don't chase opportunities, you attract them. You walk into rooms differently. You speak with quiet authority. You give instead of grasping. And somehow, the universe responds. A check arrives when you least expect it. A person helps you out of nowhere. What once looked impossible suddenly unfolds with grace. To act in faith is to live as if your desires have already been fulfilled. It's walking through life saying, I may not see it yet, but it's already mine. That is the kind of courage Florence wanted people to have, the kind that transforms fear into power and doubt into destiny. Have you ever held something so tightly that you accidentally broke it? Maybe it was a fragile object, or maybe it was a moment, relationship, a dream, or a goal you wanted so badly that your fear of losing it destroyed the peace that could have let it grow. Florence Scovel Shinn called this the law of non-resistance, and she believed that when you hold on too tightly, to money, to people, to outcomes, you block the very flow that could have blessed you. She said, fear and impatience block the flow of supply. Stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord. To stand still didn't mean doing nothing, it meant letting go of the struggle, the desperation, the mental tension that keeps your blessings at a distance. Imagine a river. Its water moves freely, effortlessly, finding its path around rocks and bends. That's how the energy of abundance flows, it's always moving toward you. But when you build a dam of fear, worry, and control, you stop that flow. The water still exists, the current still pushes, but your resistance blocks it. The moment you release the dam, the moment you stop forcing, stop panicking, and start trusting, the river rushes through again, bringing everything you need in perfect time. Florence saw this law play out again and again in her students' lives. There was a man she once worked with who had been searching desperately for a business deal to succeed. He'd done everything, called contacts, sent proposals, prayed anxiously every night, but nothing seemed to work. His energy was heavy with worry. Florence told him gently, you must release it. You are trying to force what is meant to flow. The man resisted at first. How could he let go when everything depended on it? But after weeks of failure, he finally surrendered. He stopped calling. He stopped obsessing. He began to focus instead on gratitude, for his health, his skills, his faith. 2 days later, he received a letter from a client he hadn't heard from in months, confirming a deal that was worth more than he had hoped for. It wasn't luck, it was the release that made room for the blessing to arrive. We live in a world that glorifies control, the idea that we can manage, push, and demand our way into success. But Florence taught something radical: the more you chase, the more you repel. The tighter your grip, the less space there is for grace. Think of trying to catch a butterfly. If you lunge for it, it flies away. But if you stand still, open your hand, and let the air around you be calm, it may land gently on your palm. That's the nature of abundance, it comes when you stop chasing and start allowing. She called it the divine flow, the invisible current of good that carries everything to you at the right time, if you allow it. But allowing requires trust, and trust requires courage. It's easy to say, I trust, when everything is going well. True faith is when you trust in the silence, when doors seem closed and time feels long. Florence said, never force a door open. When you're in the right vibration, the right doors open by themselves. She believed that our impatience is often the very thing that delays our blessings. When you say, I need it now, you're telling the universe you don't believe it's already on its way. But when you say, I trust the timing, you align yourself with peace, and peace is the magnet of miracles. Non-resistance doesn't mean apathy. It means releasing your white-knuckled control and stepping into flow. It means doing your part, then letting go of how, when, and where the results will come. It means blessing what you have now, even if it's not perfect, and believing that life is working for you, not against you. Florence used to remind her students of a simple truth: whatever you resent, you bind to yourself. Whatever you bless, you set free. When you resist, when you complain about bills, about lack, about slow progress, you tie yourself to those very things. But when you bless them, when you say, "Thank you for teaching me patience, for showing me strength," you release the energy of struggle and make space for new growth. The same bill that once brought fear can become a reminder of trust. The same delay that once felt like punishment can become divine preparation. Imagine standing at the edge of a stream, dropping your worries into the water, and watching them float away. That's what Florence wanted people to do, to stop fighting the current, stop forcing outcomes, and start trusting the quiet intelligence that runs the entire universe. Because the moment you let go of resistance, life rushes in to meet you. Opportunities appear. Solutions unfold. Peace returns. And in that stillness, you realize something profound: abundance was never gone. It was simply waiting for you to stop blocking it. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the life you truly want, not the one you've settled for, but the one that lives quietly in your imagination. The home, the freedom, the peace, the joy of waking up each day knowing you are exactly where you're meant to be. Florence Scovel Shinn believed that what you can see within, you can hold in your hand. She said, "You must train your imagination to see abundance, not lack." To her, imagination wasn't fantasy, it was a spiritual workshop, the creative engine through which all things are first formed. Before you ever touch money, success, or opportunity, you have to see it. You have to live it in your mind as if it already exists. Because the imagination is not make-believe, it's the blueprint of belief. Florence once told the story of a man who dreamed of owning his own store. Every time he passed by empty buildings, he imagined his name above the door. He didn't have the money, the partners, or even the experience yet, but every day, he walked through his mental store, greeting imaginary customers, arranging imaginary shelves, smelling the scent of polished wood and new beginnings. People around him laughed. They said he was wasting time daydreaming. But he wasn't daydreaming, he was creating. Months later, an unexpected investor offered him a partnership, and within a year, that imaginary store stood in the real world, almost identical to the one he had built in his mind. Florence would have smiled knowingly, because to her, that was proof of divine imagination in action. Your imagination is like a movie screen, it plays what your subconscious mind believes to be true. If the film running is filled with fear, debt, and failure, that's what your outer life will reflect. But when you change the film, when you start playing scenes of joy, confidence, and success, the world begins to shift. Florence compared it to a mirror. If you stand in front of a mirror frowning, you can't expect the reflection to smile. You have to change first. The reflection always follows. Most people try to fix the outer world without ever touching the inner one. They chase results, hustle for approval, struggle for security, all the while carrying mental pictures of lack and limitation. And as long as those pictures stay the same, nothing truly changes. She encouraged people to use their imagination deliberately, to visualize blessings, not burdens. To picture themselves living freely, not struggling. She once said, "The imagination is a marvelous workshop where all of man's dreams are first realized." The key, she taught, is to make those inner visions so vivid and emotional that your subconscious begins to accept them as fact. It's not enough to think of wealth, you have to feel it. Feel the joy of financial freedom, the relief of debts paid, the warmth of giving generously. When your feelings match your vision, you create a magnetic vibration that draws reality toward you. Think of an actor rehearsing for a role. Before they ever step on stage, they live as the character in their mind. They walk like them, think like them, speak like them, until eventually, they become them. Florence wanted people to do the same with abundance. Walk like someone who's blessed. Speak like someone who's supported. Think like someone who already has everything they need. The universe doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to who you are being. One of her students once told her, "I can't imagine being rich. It feels fake." Florence replied, then start small. Imagine peace of mind. Imagine your bills paid. Imagine one door opening easily. The student began doing that every night, nothing dramatic, just quiet moments of imagining relief and gratitude. Within months, opportunities she never expected began showing up, a promotion, a new apartment, and a sense of ease that had been missing for years. Florence called that divine order. The universe rearranging itself to match the new picture in her mind. So many people use their imagination against themselves without realizing it. They replay worst-case scenarios, picture rejection before it happens, and live entire stories of failure before taking a single step. Florence wanted to break that habit. She wanted people to realize that imagination is sacred, that it can build or destroy depending on how you use it. Every great invention, every masterpiece, every success story began first as an image in someone's mind. Nothing exists in the outer world that wasn't first created in the unseen. So the next time you catch yourself imagining what could go wrong, stop. Replace the picture. See what could go right. Feel it, believe it, live it in your heart before it becomes visible to your eyes. Because the truth Florence wanted the world to remember is this: you are always imagining something, and the universe is always listening. Florence Scovel Shinn believed that gratitude was not just good manners, it was spiritual magic. She said, "Gratitude is the law of increase, and complaint is the law of decrease. Whatever you bless grows, and whatever you criticize withers." To her, gratitude wasn't a reaction to good things, it was the cause of them. It was a quiet energy that opened the heart and aligned the soul with abundance. When you give thanks, even in small things, you declare to the universe, "I have enough." And the universe, always listening, echoes back, "Then let's give you more." Imagine two people receiving the same paycheck. One sighs and says, "This isn't enough. I'm so tired of struggling." The other smiles and whispers, "Thank you, God, for this provision. I know more is on the way." Which one do you think plants the seed for increase? Florence would say it's the second one. Because gratitude doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It creates them. When you give thanks for what little you have, you acknowledge the abundance that's already present, and that awareness multiplies it. She told the story of a woman who came to her overwhelmed by debt. The woman said, "I can't be grateful, I'm drowning." Florence replied gently, "Then start by blessing what you have, even if it's just $1. Bless it, thank it, and send it out with love. What you bless, you increase." The woman hesitated but decided to try. Every time she paid a bill, instead of feeling anger or fear, she said, "Thank you for the money that allows me to pay this. Thank you that more is coming." Within a few months, her business began to grow, clients returned, and the weight she'd been carrying started to lift. Florence didn't see it as coincidence, she saw it as spiritual law. When you thank the universe, you unlock the flow of good that was waiting to reach you all along. Gratitude changes everything because it shifts your vibration from lack to abundance. It's like changing the lens through which you see life. When you focus on what's missing, you feel smaller, tighter, more anxious. But when you focus on what's already here, the breath in your lungs, the roof over your head, the food on your table, you expand. Your energy softens. You begin to see possibilities instead of problems. And those possibilities grow, because gratitude is magnetic. Florence compared it to sunlight. The more you shine it, the more life blooms around you. Think of the times you've been truly thankful, not because someone told you to be, but because your heart overflowed. Maybe it was when you held someone's hand, or when something small worked out just in time. In that moment, you weren't worrying, you weren't chasing, you were still. You were aligned with what Florence called divine order. She believed gratitude was the quickest path to that state, a spiritual shortcut to peace and prosperity. When you live in thanks, you stop fighting life and start flowing with it. You recognize that every delay has a purpose, every closed door a redirection, every challenge a lesson preparing you for more. One of her favorite affirmations was, "I have a wonderful work in a wonderful way. I give wonderful service for wonderful pay." But she told her students to say it with genuine gratitude, not as a demand. Because words without feeling are empty. It's the emotion of thankfulness that activates the creative force behind them. When you say, "thank you," and mean it, even before the blessing arrives, you tell life that you trust it. And that trust becomes a magnet for miracles. Florence believed that gratitude was the bridge between faith and manifestation. Faith says, "It's coming." Gratitude says, "It's already here." And that simple shift in energy, from waiting to receiving, transforms everything. So even in moments of uncertainty, when the bills are high and the answers unclear, she urged people to give thanks. Not as a ritual, but as a declaration of faith. Because gratitude is not about ignoring the storm, it's about standing in the rain and saying, "I'm still blessed." It's about finding beauty in the small, trusting that every good thing multiplies when you appreciate it. And in that quiet, grateful heart, Florence said, the universe always finds its way home. So here you are, standing at the edge of a new chapter, holding the same truth that guided Florence Scovel Shinn'S a century ago. Your mind is the key, your words are the tools, your faith is the power, and your gratitude is the magnet. You've heard it before, but maybe this time, it lands differently. Maybe this time, it's not just a nice idea, it's a calling. Because right now, in this very moment, you have the power to rewrite your relationship with money, success, and life itself. You don't need permission. You don't need proof. You just need belief. Stop waiting for the right time is now. Stop saying, "someday," because someday is today. Stop doubting your worth, because the universe can only give to a heart that's open to receive. Change your thoughts, and your reality will follow. Speak life into your dreams, and they will rise to meet you. Act in faith, and doors will open where walls once stood. Give thanks for what you have, and what you have will multiply beyond measure. Every great shift begins in silence, in that single decision to no longer think small. And that decision, that moment of faith, could be the turning point of your entire life. So let this be your declaration. I release fear. I choose faith. I choose abundance. I choose to believe that everything I need is already on its way. Because it is. And when doubt whispers that you're not enough, remember this: the universe doesn't give according to your fear, it gives according to your belief. So believe boldly. Believe fiercely. Believe now. Because your mind was never meant to chase money, it was meant to command it. Your support means everything. If this resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe. And remember this: mind over money, and everything else will follow. Thank you for being here. See you in the one.